Welcome to Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis. Got Coach Jerod with me. Interesting topic on players and players only wanting to play with players better than them. What? Stay tuned. All right, guys. So Coach Rob, middle of the week, said, I got one for you. And I'm like, okay, throw it at me. Coach Rob, what was that?
So I was just thinking, I get some questions, not as often as I used to, but hey, can you just play me with the better guys? And always trying to find their way into hitting with guys that are older, stronger, better, adults that are maybe, I remember back in the day, we'd get the 3-5s always wanted to play with the 4-0, 4-5 guys. And, I thought it was an interesting topic. It hadn't come up in a while. And thinking about it, sure, there's benefits to playing with someone who's stronger than you. There's things you can learn from that. But you also have to know how to win at the level you're at in order to get to the next level.
Right.
And so that's why I kind of just like, hey, Harry, do you get this question often? Or maybe ask the other pros, see if they get this question, what their answer is, get some feedback on it.
No, that's a great topic, actually. This is the interesting this is my perspective on this. I have people saying, do you know somebody who's better than me to play with? Or when I suggest, why don't you play with so-and-so? They're like, yeah, he's not at my level or better than me. So I don't want to call them a tennis snob, but they only play up, like what Coach Rob is saying. And they want the competition. But here's the caveat to that, though. When I throw it back to them, I say, do you ever beat that person? And the answer is always no.
Nope, because they don't like the game style that they play.
Right.
And when you're competing, it's not my job to hit the ball the way you like it.
Right.
My job is to make it challenging for you. Whether if you like the ball low and fast, I'm going to hit it high and loopy.
Right.
You like pace, here's no pace. You like to come to the net, I'm going to try to keep you back.
Right.
And so there are, benefits to playing different players of different skill levels. But I think a lot of times you have to remember you're playing the ball, not the other person.
Right. So maybe if you play a higher level, the person may not have as good of a game or as big of a game as you, but they're playing smarter than you.
Well, right. And a lot of times maybe they don't have as pretty as strokes, but they're scrappy. They're just ugly technique maybe, but they don't miss. And you're just like, it's very frustrating.
Yep.
And those are things you have to learn. How do you play somebody like that? What kind of strokes, shot selection do you need? Strokes that you need to do? What kind of game do you need to play to combat that? Because the better players have already achieved that. And so, yes, it's fun playing with someone who hits it hard the way you like it, and there's no pressure on you because you're not supposed to win because they are the better player or higher ranked or whatever.
Right.
So, mix it in, have variety. In your game is great, but don't only just be going, I always have to play with the better player.
Got it.
Because the better player can go back and bring their game back to the slow, loopy game because they've already been there and done that.
Yeah, I would not even guess. I would know that the better player will size you up within 5 minutes or less. And I'm going to go high and heavy in the backhand. I'm not going to give you any kind of pace because that's what you want. And then I'm going to make you beat me with what I give you. So, but what do you...
And that's sort of like in a singles way, like you can turn it into doubles. I only want to play with the better partner. Why does that partner want to play with you?
Right.
Like if you're, playing USTA or something and you have your ranking and rating on the line and you're, you don't want to play with somebody below you because you might lose and that could affect your rating and all that. So that's a whole nother
So what is your answer? We'll start with your answer.
I say make sure you play with some that are below you, some that are at your level, and some that are better than you, because you're going to need all of that game when you go out and compete.
Yep.
Because the opponents that are savvy can have more than one way to win.
Got it.
And so you figure out their strength. They only have that strength. You can take it away from them. But the good players have multiple ways of playing.
Right.
So it's always good to play different people.
Okay. Now let's break it down into percentages then. What percentage should you play at your level? What percentage above you? What percentage below you?
That's a good one. If you're trying to break it down, a lot of it comes to who you have available, right? And a lot of times you're playing because you want to play with your friends, right? You want to play,
right?
If you're just trying to hit and have fun, then play with your buddies and don't worry about the level. But if you're trying to break it into percentages, probably do maybe 60% your style.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Another 20 above you.
Right.
Maybe 25 if you can. The rest maybe below.
Okay. Okay. So 60-20-20 sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds fair. Let's take it to the other coaches and see what
and
they
I'd like
say.
to see. I'd like to see what they say too, for sure.
Okay. Great. We'll see you with the next coach. All right, so Coach Chris, what do you think of those people who always want to play other people that are only better than them? What are your thoughts?
I think overall, that's a good thought to have, to make sure that you play someone who's above your level. But I think the biggest thing is thinking about a progression to get to playing someone who, is really high ranked or someone that's above your UTR. So that's why you've got, local tournaments, prize money tournaments, and then tournaments that are ITFs, and then tournaments that are ATP, that you've got these progressions that, if you're able to perform at a certain level, reasonably consistent, then you move up to the next level. But if you're, someone who's just jumping the gun all of a sudden, that becomes a little bit difficult. So, and to put it in the perspective of someone who's already on that ATP level, it's like, why would they want to play with someone that is a few levels lower, and if they've not proven themselves to kind of reach to their level? So I would say it needs to be a bit more of a progression. Maybe start by playing against someone maybe below. If you're able to consistently beat them, then move up to someone around your level. And if you show, good progression, then move up to the next level. And just making sure that you have a good, back and forth between the two until you keep going up.
Right. Why would they do that? They got to, they should be beating people below them, obviously, but it's good to see that kind of ball too. And then obviously at your own level, you should be winning 50-50, all right, or dominating if you're that good.
Yep. And
then playing the better people so that you can maybe win a little, or 20% of the time. Quarter percent of the time is pretty fair. If they're, maybe a quarter or half a step above you. So I think it's just different balls with different people, though.
Yeah, that too. But I think it's a bit more about also trying to play your game style. So if you're someone who's still trying to work out, serving volley or being aggressive on the baseline, and coming up to the net, I still think it's worthwhile playing a little bit below your level or at your level to try to test these out before you go out and play against someone who is above your level. So it's just making sure that you plan these things out before, and then, like practice makes perfect, making sure that you're able to do it at a good enough amount of times, a consistent amount of times, no matter what, and then bring that up to a faster pace speed with someone who hits the ball a bit harder.
Yep.
That's what I think.
Build your base, provide a good foundation,
Yep.
and then play people above you and see what how far you can take it. But always, like, it's always about giving back to the game too, right? Like, people always want to play somebody at their level. A lot of people don't want to play below their level, but look at yourself. Like, people play you that are better, right? They're doing you a favor. Pass the buck back on. It only makes sense.
Yeah. Like when I hit with Harry in the videos.
Passing the buck, right?
Yeah. And he makes you run everywhere.
Yeah.
When he just expects the ball to be hit to you.
I'm just giving them exercise.
That's exactly the same thing.
I'm making them match tough on the
take
ITF.
It,
Yeah.
and play at the lower level.
And he takes it very well. Coach Ching, thanks for always being my crash test dummy. Where can they find you?
You can find me at CV Chan Tennis.
And
that's
it. All right, off to the next pro. All right, so I got Coach Goo with me.
What's up?
Coach Goo, what do you think of those people that only want to play at their level and above? I mean, I don't want to call them snobs, but I know that they don't, they don't want to give back is what I want to say sometimes, because you were bad sometime too, but enough of my raving. What do you think of that?
In a certain degree, there is, I like to call pros and cons. Of course, the pro of playing a better player or a player that's at your level, you always get a consistency. There's always a consistency factor behind it of playing. There's certain type of, like, ball quality will always be the same or better. So that's number one, consistency and just playing that way. Two, there's always no pressure. There's some people that have no pressure playing people that are the same level or even better. Because usually a person that's better, they just hit a certain type of ball that they like, and they're like, oh, I don't have to worry about if I lose, because if I lose to a better player, right, there's nothing I lose behind it, right? It's like I lost to a better player on
That's
paper.
True. That's
right?
very true.
But the con behind it is pretty much, let's say if you're, for example, a 4-5 player and you're playing a 4 player, right? There's some type of different level. Like, there's a different type of ball pace, different type of style. Like, everyone has a different type of game. And us humans, majority of us already have enough pressure when we're playing on court, when there's a lot of pressure already accumulated in your own head, right? You had to play a certain way, and then also you're like, I gotta beat this person because I'm technically better on paper, right? So you have so much pressure already. So every shot, let's say you miss, feel like it's the end of the world, right? You probably felt that before. You're like, okay, I can't be losing to a 3-0 player. You're maybe a 3-5.
Yeah,
you.
That's true.
Right? And you're like, holy crap, I'm losing, right? So you put already so much pressure. So it actually takes away the fun part about tennis, right?
That's true.
Like, when you compete, you're having fun out there, even though you're trying to problem solve. But when, let's say, you're losing to someone that's a little lower than you, you're like, why am I out here then? Right. So you feel pretty down on yourself. Same topic with the ball consistency. It won't be probably the same level. Right.
Ball speed will
be different. They might be hitting it a lot slower. They might get
be pushing it.
True. There may be less balls coming back, right? So it's like a different habit. But the pro side of it is, with that in mind, that you don't have that many balls, you actually get to work on, playing a person that's maybe a lower tier. So when you play those people, you have an idea like what they don't like. You might have to actually start playing a different type of game with yourself, right? Sometimes you might overplay it. There's people that might overplay, might underplay. So you get to discover the competitive side of yourself, but with a lower tier player. So it opens your mind to different things and different levels. In the higher tier, you're like, okay, I can do whatever I want. Or you have the freedom to try things that you wouldn't try. But when it comes to a lower tier, you might be more conservative. You might be like, oh, if I'm losing points, I'll kind of default back to what they're doing, is just pushing the ball back.
Right.
Or playing at the same level as they are, but it might actually worsen your game.
Right.
So that's the temptation. So therefore, you're building yourself a different type of level or a different type of, like, game style to yourself, but not actually steering that far off, of course.
And there is a little bit of danger too, because if you're a 4-5 playing a 4-0, and literally the 4-0 is like, I'm supposed to lose to this guy anyways, so I'm just gonna play more freer.
Mm-hmm.
So they might bring their game on, and like what Coach Goos said, you got now the pressure to figure out now how to beat this guy if they're playing out of their mind too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because they're probably not going to fold if they're playing somebody else better. Just
Of
like
course.
if you were the 4-5 and you're playing a 5-0, it's like, whoa, I'm supposed to lose this guy anyway, so I'm just going to bring my A game.
Yeah, so that's the point. I mean, that's why it's beneficial, I would say, to even play to people like, let's say you're 4-5, the 4-0s, even like maybe being sketchy here with the 3-5, but like 4-0 to 4-5, like you should be playing with some of those people, is because one, you're just building just that competitive spirit and just unlocking more of your gameplay. Right. You get to experience like people, let's say that 4-0 is going to play like a 4-5, even a 5-0 one day. Right. You got to expect for that and just get kind of tailored towards it.
Yep. And you'll play that 4-0 pusher that you hate.
Yeah.
And what if you play a 4-5 or a 5-0 pusher?
That'd be tough. That's like me playing against Harry every time.
They ain't missing. All right. Thank you, Coach Goo.
Of course.
For answering the question and your pros and your cons. All right. Coach Goo, where do we find you?
You find me at agu.tennis. I'll also be posting content there as well.
All right. Off to the next pro. All right. So it's Coach Jerod's turn. Now, Coach Jerod, here's the question. I only play with people that are at my level or better than me. Is that a good mindset to have or a good way to approach tennis?
That's a good question from Harry, actually. Well, it kind of depends, I guess, where you are at in terms of, are you a competitive junior? Are you more of a social player? Are you more so of someone that's kind of a mix of both? Back in the day, I'd say my mentality is more so like that, where I'd want to train with people at my same level or better than me. But the thing is, at the same time, if you do train with people that are someone, or, as they say, lower level than you, you can actually work on a lot more mechanics and I guess strategy and different shots that you're not used to playing against people that are better than you are at your level. Because I mean, at the same time, it's just with tennis, why it's such a great flexible sport is because you can actually work on so many different things with so many different people. Because if someone hits a lot bigger than you work on your defensive shots. If someone's not as good as you, I guess, and if they hit a lot shorter balls, you can work on approach shots, rip shots, and coming into the net. There's like a whole, I guess, different avenue of things to work on as a tennis player as a whole. So it's more so of just how the person is in general. But I guess if you're also only wanting to play with people that are better than you, you may have a harder time finding more hitting partners, I guess, or people that want to play with you because maybe they're thinking, oh, this person, only wants to play with me and they may not be at my level and I may not want to play with them as much.
Right.
So I guess it's kind of hard to gauge everything in general. But in my opinion, it's just more so better just to kind of hit with everyone. But also if you want to potentially focus more towards people at your level and better than you, that's fine. But once in a while, it's also nice to hit with people that are quote unquote not as good as you either. Right. So it's kind of how you approach the situation and what you kind of want to work on every time you're hitting with different people. So that's kind of mine.
You bring up a good point because sometimes hitting with somebody that's not as good as you, and the variety of that, the ball speeds are different. What if you face somebody that's at your level or better than you that's literally a pusher?
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
So somebody below you that's a pusher, all they're going to do is get balls back. That means you have to use your brain and figure out how to beat them. Then if you had practice with somebody maybe just a smidge below you, then you could probably figure out how to beat that person that's at your level or above you. Right?
Because if you're only training with someone that just bangs the ball and just hits, hard penetrating shots, and all of a sudden you run into a spinny guy with, like you said, push shots and slightly below you, you might struggle a little bit because you haven't seen that for a while. So it's always good just to play with a variety of people and variety of shots. So
okay, so I'm going to play a little scenario with you. So I'm one of your brothers, okay? Ryan or Daniel. Okay.
Yeah.
I walk up to you one day. Hey, Jerod, I'm only going to play with people that are my level or above me. What do you tell me?
you're crazy. I'd just be like, no, you can't just be playing with people that are better than you. You got to work on everything. I mean, the other thing too that's great about tennis is also the social aspect, because you never know who you're going to run into at the same time. Like, you know, you can meet some great people that are potentially lower level than you, make some good friends and relationships, and, you know, kind of just expand it out. But like, if someone told me that, especially my brothers, I'd be like, get your head out. Come on, you got to just play with a bunch of people and kind of just have fun with everyone. So that's the biggest thing.
So Ryan and Daniel wouldn't do this, just so you know. I'm just trying to be his brothers and just trying to, you know, give you a example, let's say. Okay.
Yep.
So don't take it personally, Ryan, Daniel. Okay. All right. So thank you for the insight. Thank you for the wisdom. Coach Jerod is the last coach that we're interviewing with this question. Thank you, Coach Jerod, as always.
Of course.
Where can we find you, Coach?
You guys can find me on Instagram at Ma Tennis.
All right. Guys, play with everybody, okay? Thank you for watching Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis. Guys, are you tired of playing against the ball machine? Ball machine always wins, and you're not really getting any interaction with people. How about playing with somebody at your level, or maybe a little bit better than you, that can improve your game? There's 27,000 people nationwide waiting for you to play with. It's all at playyourcourt.com. You can find your new tennis friend, join local leagues, all for less than $5 a month. You'll have access to players at your level, your speed, and make some new tennis friends. Check it out at playyourcourt.com/tennis spin. Link is below.